Dear students, Assalamu alaikum, good day. Today we are going to have our 7th unit of Muslims rule in Spain. The course code is 9129. The title of the unit is The Rise of al-Mansur, Power and Politics in Late Umayyad al-Andalus. If we talk about the objectives of this particular unit, it has to trace the conditions that led to the decline of the Umayyad Caliphate. The second major objective is understanding the rise of Hajib al-Mansur under Hisham II. As you know, that the Ibn Khaldun's theory of Asabiya, and if we talk about that he mentions the rise and fall of civilizations and the rulingship. So in that theory, Ibn Khaldun tries to say that there is one civilization when it has a rise, at the same time it has decline. And between the rise and decline, there are 4 generations to come. So if we look at the Umayyads' rule in Iberian Peninsula, Spain, then we see that theory applied over here as well. So having the rise of Umayyad in Spain, now we are going to learn about the decline of the Umayyads in Iberian Peninsula of Spain. Introducing the chapter, the unit, it basically talks about the court intrigues and political maneuvering of Hisham II's rule, and then the rise of al-Mansur from scholar to de facto ruler. The main topic of that unit is also about the paradox which the military strength and political fragility had during the Hisham II rule. So if we have the background of the court of al-Hakam II, it talks about the tightly controlled access to the caliph. The caliph was the authority of that court during the period of Umayyads here in Spain, and then afterwards we see that there was the rise of court insiders with little formal power, and then we also see the rise of the elite which was in the palace, and then they started intrigues, having conspiracies against the caliph, and then in that sense we have the role of Subh in the palace. If we talk about the Muhammad bin Abi Aamer, who was basically a part of the court as well, he was born in 938 in Algeciras of Arab lineage. He had the Arab background instead of the Berbers background, and then instead of the neo-Muslims background. So he studied religious law in Cordoba, and he gained patronage through the harem, particularly Subh. And if we talk about the strategic appointments under the Hakam II, we saw that there was the appointment of Qazi for Umayyad territories in Morocco as well. So that was the expansion of Spanish Umayyad rule towards the North Africa, as we saw in the previous units. And then there was a political liaison with the Berber chiefs. And the Berber chiefs, as previously mentioned too, they belong to the Moroccan side of today's Moroccan. Al-Maghrib is also the name of that country. And then he has also developed military connections despite limited background with that various chiefs around. If we talk about the death of Caliph al-Hakam II in 976, so after Hakam, we saw that there was his minor son Hisham II basically had the power to rule the Umayyad Spain. However, because he was the young kid, so there were a war of succession, and then we saw that the Hisham was replaced with al-Mughira. That is why there was a war of succession. However, that conspiracy did not last longer, and we saw the Ibn Abi Aamer allied with al-Mushafi acted quickly, and he fought against al-Mughira, and then he replaced al-Mughira with the Hisham II, and he basically with the help of Berber support and with the help of the other elite of the palace, so Hisham II was installed by the Ibn Abi Aamer as the chief backer. So if we look at the military success and popularity during this particular period, then we saw he led successful frontier campaigns here and there around the Muslims Spain, and then he also built military forts so that the military establishment should be established well in his rule. Then he also became rival to al-Mushafi, who basically helped to bring Hisham II on throne. Since I talked about the like the conspiracies within the palace, so of course there were the rivals sitting in the palace who were all the time making policies, planning conspiracies to remove the caliph or to control his authority. However, al-Mushafi was one of them, so he was outmaneuvered politically and personally. And then there was the general who gained power and favor, that was General Ghalib. So they also we saw his commandments in the palace as well, because he married Ghalib's daughter after breaking prior alliances. So if we talk about the consolidation of his power, so we saw that after the arrest and death of al-Mushafi, so he consolidated somehow his power in Muslims Spain. He constructed well the Madinatul Zahra. The Muslims in Umayyad's Muslims in Spain, they look after quite well the construction side or the cultural side of their rule in that part of the world. And then he also centralized administration, which was quite under his authority, under his control during his time. Of course, since General Ghalib, whose daughter was with him, he also started maneuvering the palace against his authority. And then we also saw the clash with him, and that was the clash near Atienza in 981, where the Ghalib was killed, and Ibn Abi Aamer, who stood victorious against his expedition. Basically, Ibn Abi Aamer, he had close alliances with the Berber, the Christians, and Upper March troops, so that the Ghalib could not be victorious over there. So if we talk about the political strategy of this period, then we saw that the elimination of elite rivals was one of them through military or personal strategies. We also saw that the Berbers' military patronage was there in the palace with the caliph. They were quite close. And then the control of the media and narrative was there. Of course, like the media of that time was not like the media today's electronic and print, but however, there were historians who were writing like the rules of various kings. So in that way, the propaganda was completely controlled by the caliph and by the authorities. And then we also saw the model power on Buyid control of Abbasid caliph during his tenure. If we talk about the legacy he left, or the Umayyad rulers in Spain left, one of them, that the zenith of Umayyad military strength, the Europe also saw that their strength, the European parts, the Christian parts over there. He basically then afterwards we saw that he undermined the caliphal authority of Baghdad or the Damashq. We saw that that was compromised, and here he established his own caliphate. And then we also saw where the paved the way for internal fragmentation. We also have the various mixed legacy in historical sources. There are Arab historians, there are Arab European historiographers who looked at this particular period through different lenses and through different perspectives. However, in somehow they come across as well as far as the development as well as the rise and fall of the Umayyads in Iberian Peninsula. So students, that is what we had for the Unit 7. Thank you so much and have a good day.